Hilo Stitch podcast. I am your host, Kristen, and today I'm going to be talking to you about a lot of whips, including my emotional support chicken, 0 finished objects, but I have a few design sneak peeks to share and a little bit about some upcoming events. So if any of that sounds like it will be of interest to you, I hope you'll stick around. All right, yet again, no finished objects, but I have been knitting, so I will share at least some decent progress on a couple of whips. Let's kick things off with my Isle Pullover. I have finished the body and started on one sleeve. So this is the Isle Pullover, a pattern by Brianna Mason, that I was hoping to have done to wear during winter weather this year, but it is now almost the end of April. Our high on Monday is 90, so I don't think I'm gonna be getting a chance to wear this before warm weather takes over. So I have started the sleeve. Now, normally sleeves, are kind of a slug because they're all stockinette, but they're also kind of fast that way. But in this case, they're not all stockinette. I have a lot going on here. So the sleeve is done in ribbing, but you can see there's like a main column of ribbing down the center of the sleeve, and then it is offset with the ribbing on the sides, which kind of appears to be moving diagonal, which means that to maintain that, you are increasing on one side of the sleeve and decreasing on the other side of the sleeve every other row. So not only are you working in ribbing, but you're also remembering this increase and decrease pattern, because sometimes you're increasing in knit, sometimes in purl, and the same for the decrease. And then in about another inch, you're going to start adding actual shaping decreases. So there's kind of a lot to keep track of with the sleeve, and it is not as straightforward as sort of a normal sleeve. It also looks sort of weird, like it looks super thin compared to the body, but that's just, again, just because it's ribbing and it's going to be super stretchy. So I'm just, putting a few rounds on this here and there, but it's not, it's not moving very quickly. And a lot of my interest in knitting it has kind of worn down, because I know I'm not going to be able to wear it until probably October, maybe even November. But it is, it's still looking cute. I love the split hem. I love the shape of the body. I love all the ribbing. I just still really love this pattern. I'm just trying to keep going at it so that when cool weather does come again, 6 months from now, I'll be ready. But yeah, really sad I did not actually get this done in time to wear this year. It's really too bad. So that is, a big thing that I have been working on. Probably the biggest project I've been steadily working on. So I have some smaller projects that I have been working on. So let's go ahead and take a look at my my emotional support chicken. It's around here somewhere. For the main body of my chicken, I am using this. So this is some Patton's Classic Wool Worsted. You can hear about this in my video on trying to shop for wool at Joanne and Michaels that I decided to use for my chicken. This is for the main body because it looks all kind of like speckly. And then I've got a red for my stripes. That is not even true. No. I don't know what I was thinking. So the red is for the wattle and the coxcomb. Although I guess it's not a coxcomb because it's a hen, not a rooster. Whatever. This is for the stripes. So this is some double Sunday that I just bought kind of to try out. There's another video about that I did a few months back. These are the stripes. So good at podcasting. So how far have I gotten on my chicken? this is what I have so far of my emotional support chicken. And I apologize if there are like siren. I don't know what's going on in my neighborhood. There is a police training academy nearby, so I don't know if this is like an actual emergency event happening or if it's just some training thing. Anyway, so I believe these pieces come together like this, and then I don't really know what happens after this, but I finished these first two pieces, which are basically, you just knit them the same. And it is all in garter stitch, so there's not really a right side or a wrong side. And it is shaped with like short rows and binding off and casting on stitches. So let me look at the pattern, see if I can figure out what this actually is. All right, so, no, so I'm gonna join them together this way. They get joined together. So there's like you can either sew them or crochet them together along this edge. And then what happens? Okay, so this ends up being the tail of your emotional support chicken. So you seam these together, and then along this long edge you pick up some stitches, and you know, there's still a lot to go going on with this. I have quite a ways to go, but I have finished this first small part. So I am knitting this, you know, you want a pretty thick, dense fabric, so it's going to keep all of your stuffing inside. And I think it's fitting that build pretty well. And, you know, it's not, it's okay to knit with. It's a little rough to knit with. But for the purposes of a stuffy, it's going to be fine. So I need to use like I said, the contrast, the green, to sew those pieces together, and then we will be continuing on our way in this emotional support chicken journey. Yeah, so like eventually it looks like it's like spatchcocked, and then you sew it together. Oh dear. We'll get there eventually. So I know a big thing with the emotional support chicken is picking out names. I don't feel like I can really pick out a name until she's done. You know, I don't, it's like trying to, you know, name a pet before you get your pet. You know, you need to see it to see what it looks like. So I have some ideas. I saw one recently that was called Jennifer Lopez. I'm a big J-Lo fan, but that was not one of my ideas, so I don't feel too sad about that. What else? I've heard Elizabeth Zimmerman. I know I've heard some other ones. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm sure you've seen them on Instagram as well. So I will definitely be coming up with a fun name for my chicken. And like I said, I've got some ideas, but until she is complete, I'm going to keep those, you know, sort of under my hat, and I will announce the name once she is completed. But she is on her way. So far this has been really simple. The instructions are pretty clear. The more complicated parts are coming up, so I don't know if that will hold true. I certainly hope so. I haven't decided if I'm going to go ahead and seam or crochet these sides together now that I do have a basic understanding of crochet. I don't know which one I think will look better, but we'll see. We'll see. I will keep you updated, but she is underway. The other thing I have been working on are actually two pairs of socks. So one is, I showed you guys last time that I'm a little disappointed with. The sunflower colorway from Knitterly Things. Kind of bummed with the two greens being so close together. But I still have been, you know, working steadily on this. This is a really, you know, easy thing to carry around with me. So I'm onto the ribbing now. I'm just gonna do about another inch and a half, we'll see, and then I'll be done with that. It is again getting kind of, you know, getting into the realm of too warm for hand knit socks, although today, like I said, Monday's high is 90, but today, right now, it's 52 degrees, so it's still very hit or miss around here. But these will probably end up being finished sometime, you know, in the early summer, and then I'll just put them away for the fall. So, I mean, they're fine. I just am really irritated by those two green colors, but still loving the sort of like 70s vibe that's coming from these. And then the other sock is my Patton's Croy sock. So again, be sure to check out that video on shopping for wool at Joann and Michael's. But one of the few wools I found was Patton's Croy sock, and I grabbed 2 balls. And this is how it's working up so far. So this is definitely a rougher yarn. So this is not a yarn that feels like your typical superwash merino sock yarn. So I don't find myself like super eager to knit on these because it is just a little scratchy on my hands, but I love how the colors are working up. So this is what the ball looks like. And so far, I really think this is, I mean, I think the color changes look nice, and it's really cute, sort of self-patterning. I don't want to say self, they're stripes, but they're, like you can see, there's like big stripes and little stripes. It's not just, come on, there we go. It's not just a bunch of, you know, 5-row stripes. Everything is each bit is a little bit different. I don't know how that's going to hold up as I continue. I guess we will see. I did buy 2 balls, so I can use one for each sock and presumably make them identical, though that doesn't really concern me too much. But I also really like the red. You can see is actually a little bit marled. I think that's really nice looking. The gray as well, but I really like it in the red. So another quick, easy project to take with me. Did I tell you guys about the new cat?
Hey kids, it's story time!
I'm sure I told you a couple weeks ago that we were watching my sister's cat while she was on a business trip. And when she got home, she was like, so do you want to keep her? She has 2 Chihuahuas, and she had adopted this kitten that somebody in her office had found last summer. And the cat and the dogs really just never got along. And the cat is getting along really well with the cat we adopted in October. They are snuggling, they are playing, they are adorable. I will put a little video in here. So she said, do you want to keep the cat? I was like, all right. But unfortunately, my sister did not get any of the medical stuff done. So she hasn't been spayed, she didn't have her shots. So I feel like I've been going to the vet every 3 days for cat stuff, and it's good to have an easily portable project. She is, is she in here? Polly Pocket. So her name is Polly. My sister named her Pollyanna. I have given her the middle name Penelope. We tend to call her Polly Pocket. If you don't know what a Polly Pocket is, you're too young to be watching this podcast. She's tiny. Like, she is still a kitten, but she's tiny for the age that she is. But she's got a lot of spirit. So both times that I've taken her to the vet so far, and I've got to take her again tomorrow, and then again in a couple weeks for her spay, the vet has said she is very feisty. She's spicy. So after the first time, they sent us home with gabapentin and said, give this to her before you bring her here the next time, which is what I did, and it did not work. She said she was better, but she's still, she's a little aggressive. So she's very sweet to me. She's a little bit of a tortoiseshell. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you so much. she definitely has some spice. So I just got her out of her blanket, so she's just gonna go back there. So, new pets. And then the only other non-design thing I have been working on is my long-suffering crochet blanket, which is still suffering. I love this. I love the colors. I think it's gonna be so pretty when it's done, but man, I am slow at crochet. I was thinking I might want to take a break from this and maybe start a project that involves granny squares. I think that'll be learning some new skills, because this is all just double crochet with a couple of increases and decreases. So I'm not really learning anything new, despite the number of stripes I am creating. Everything is basically the same. So I thought I might, while I am slowly progressing on this, I thought maybe I would think about starting something smaller and maybe learn some new skills. So I don't know. I do have a couple of crochet things in my Ravelry queue, but I was thinking of something maybe like a granny square or something. I've seen a lot of really cute granny square bags where I can make small pieces and feel like I've accomplished something. But to be fair, my record with blankets that involve making squares isn't great. So I'm not sure that that's really a solution to anything. So I think that is it for whips and 0 FOs. All right, but what I have been working on are a couple of designs. So the first, I know I've shown you guys this a few times, is a floaty little sleeveless top for spring and summer. So this is the front, and I know it doesn't look like much. It is designed to have this, it's an I-cord, to be the straps that runs through a channel on the top here. The front part is a dip stitch, which kind of naturally pulls up at the bottom and gives it this little bit of shape. And it's curling in, but it does have armhole shaping as well. And the armholes are shaped, but also finished with like a kind of an I-cord edge. So there's no finishing here. It's done, it's done. You're just going to sew up the sides with the back piece. So the front is done, and I've been working on the back. It is a bit slow going, so I am using oh great, I stopped in the middle of the row because of course I did. It just makes the most sense. I'm gonna work to the end of the row. So I am knitting this on a US 4, I believe, and it is a fingering weight yarn, so it is not going super fast, because as you can see, I am working flat. And the reason for that, other than just kind of giving some more structure to a very drapey garment, is that there are some elements on the front and the back that are different, that would not have worked well if I just worked it all in one piece. And so primarily that is, I want to add some ribbing to the top of the back that is not on the front, that needs to be shaped differently because it is ribbing and it is not stockinette. I will need to go down a size for the ribbing to make sure it is nice and tight, helping to hold this in place. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to do that if I am working in the round. So I am working flat, and that does mean it is a little slower, but the good news is it's only April. And if I want to publish this in the summer, I actually still have time. It's not like so many things with my designing where I run out of steam and I run out of time, and then suddenly I'm trying to publish a sweater in the middle of July. So the back is pretty plain at this point. There is, like I said, going to be some ribbing at the top of the back to help hold it in place, but at this point it is just stockinette. I had thought about adding the dip stitch detail that's on the front to the back, but because it does pull the fabric up, which is an element I want on the front, there's not an element I want on the back. So I ultimately decided just to skip that. And basically I'm working in just a plain stockinette. This here is just 2 columns of reverse stockinette, just to give it a little bit of a detail on the back. Nothing super intriguing, but just to make it look like, hey, it's not plain stockinette. Also to hold your attention so that you are continuing to pay attention. And it's you know, it's mostly stockinette, but it's going to keep your brain kind of active while you're working on it. So I've got, what is this, 3 inches maybe of stockinette. Still have quite a ways to go. And then at some point it's going to have that, as I said, ribbing at the top. For the back, so in the front, you know, the I-cord runs through this channel and it's very adjustable. And in fact, I left the I-cord on a holder just in case I decide it needs to be longer. So I think for the back, I might attach the straps and in a permanent position rather than having them adjustable. So that way your front strap is adjustable, you know, especially as the I-cord stretches out, you can adjust, but the back will stay. I'm not 100% sure, still an idea that I'm toying with. So plugging away. And then, as I said, the shaping for the armholes is being done with an I-cord trim. Oh, hi, no, she has very bad knitting manners. No, we don't chase that. So once the pieces are done, they just had to be sewn together. There's not going to be any finishing. It's a rolled hem. So that part is going to be easy. So it's just going to be a seam on each side. And Pollyanna, ma'am. So that is that. And when that is ready for test knitting, I will also let people know. The other thing that I'm working on, a little sneak peek here, is in collaboration with Hubby Yarn. So this is for their, it's called like, what's it called? Naturals campaign using natural colors. So I've got these 2 yarns. I believe I've shown you before. This one is like obviously a silk mohair, and there you are. This one is their Friends Extra Fine Merino. It is I want to say it's more like a sport weight yarn. Yeah, so this is 50 grams, 180 yards. So that's like 100 grams, 360 yards. So that's definitely closer to a sport weight than a fingering. I am combining them together in a little, what is going to be, let's focus, you can do it, there we go. A little, she's so bad. No yarn for you. I don't care how much you purr. A little sort of house sock. So I'm designing this to be a little bit, I don't want to say oversized, not oversized, but not, so usually socks have negative ease. And so that's not kind of what I'm going for here. I want it to maybe be a little bit slouchy around the leg. It is all over ribbing with these cable columns. These are not identical on the front and the back, so they are they're closer together on one side than the other. Does it really matter which one you want to be the front or the back? No, but my plan is to have the ones that are a little bit closer together be the front of this. Don't you scratch that chair. Be the front of the sock. So I think the color I'm getting from putting these together is really nice. It's just kind of a kind of a pinky gray, slightly off-white, lots of fuzz coming through from the mohair silk. So obviously I haven't gotten super far, but this is something that is not going to be coming out as a pattern until the fall. So we have time. There will be a test knit for this as well. But really kind of going for a cozy, around the house, you know, not something you're gonna stuff into your shoes, something you're gonna put on to wear around the house on cozy fall and winter days. As I said, that is in collaboration with Hobby Yarn, and I will be sharing more about that as we go along. So these cables, and I do think I like one better than the other. They're identical cables, just worked in opposite directions, but this one is popping a little bit more. And they're actually like a slip stitch decrease cable. So you are increasing, then decreasing on the cable round. And so here you're getting a nice pop. It's not popping as much on that one, and I don't really know why, because like I said, they're just the exact same cable, worked in different directions. So I may have to play around with that a little bit so I can get a little bit more pop on the other one. So it's the right leaning one that's not popping as much. So something to think about. So just a little sock project coming up for the fall using. So this is not the softest silk mohair I've ever worked with. So if you've watched for a while, you know that Knitting for Olive silk mohair is kind of my go-to for this, for usually when I use silk mohair, but considering the price point of this, very reasonable. And this actually is quite soft and very nice. So this one is extra fine merino. I believe it's just 100% extra fine merino. It just says 100% wool, but I'm going to assume it's merino. That's what it's called. Maybe is the blend of this different? No, 70, so this does have a little bit of wool in it. So it's 72 mohair, 25 silk, 3% wool. So that may be why it's just not quite as soft, but especially for your feet, I think it's fine. So more on that as we progress, but those are the two designs that I currently have in progress. All right, news and events. So the big event is Maryland Sheep and Wool, which is next weekend. So today is Thursday, April 26th, I think. It's definitely Thursday, or maybe it's April 25th. Today's April 25th. So that means not this coming weekend, but the weekend after that is Maryland Sheep and Wool. So I will definitely be participating in that. On Friday morning, I will be going to Yarncentrick. So if you are coming into town for Maryland Sheep and Wool, definitely check that out. It is a little side showcase of some smaller indie dyers held up in Frederick, which is probably like 40 minutes away from the fairgrounds, which are in Howard County. Is a really nice space. So a lot of sort of these offsides events that I have been to for different fiber festivals, sometimes they just are so crowded and disorganized. I know that was a big thing with some of the side events from Rhinebeck this year. But this one, I've gone to it, I think twice. So the first time I went, it was at the Frederick Fairgrounds. It was raining, it was miserable. But last year, the organizers did a really nice job. They found an indoor event space. There was lots of room, like there was plenty of space to walk around. The booths weren't super crowded. They had timed entries. And it's going to be in the same space this year. Smaller indie dyers are going to be there. Last year they had food trucks. They had a coffee stand inside. So it is not, if you're familiar with Frederick, it is not in downtown Frederick. It is just a little bit, you know, outside downtown Frederick at the Arc on Market Street. So the Arc is an organization that works with people with developmental disabilities, but I guess they just have an event space. So that's why they rent out, I suppose, to raise money for the organization. So that is where it is. It has absolutely nothing to do with, you know, it's just a fiber event. It has nothing to do with the Arc. I actually went to the Arc a couple months ago to see a speaker who spoke about autism. My sister works for the ARC, but she works for the ARC of Washington County, I think. This is the ARC of Frederick County. That's neither here nor there. It has nothing to do with that. It just happens to be in their space, but they've got plenty of parking. It's not downtown, so you don't have to worry about things like parking. If you want to go to a restaurant, you can drive, the half a mile to downtown. There are a lot of great restaurants in Frederick. But again, as I said, last year they had food trucks. They may have them again. So that is where I'm going to be on Friday morning. I don't remember exactly what time my tickets are for. I want to say like 10:30 or 11 o'clock. So definitely say hi if you see me there. Actual Maryland Sheep and Wool. I will most likely go Saturday unless the weather is going to be a complete disaster. Right now, the weather forecast, at least for Saturday, is looking nice. Partly sunny, 70 degrees. It's still over a week away, and so that could change like 6 times between now and then. I hope it doesn't, but it certainly could. So most likely I will be there on Saturday in the morning. Mohair. Possibly with my kids, I'm not sure. My youngest son has a birthday party that day, but it's in the afternoon at a time where I would definitely be done at Maryland Sheep and Wool. Like I enjoy it, but there's a limit to my patience for crowds, and also my patience dealing with my children in crowds. So I tend to go in the morning, and then by early afternoon, kind of be done. So most likely I'll be there Saturday, unless the weather is garbage, and then in which case I would just go on Sunday instead. But if you are there, I hope you will say hi. It would be great to see some people, meet some people. If I recognize you, I will not say hi. I'm just not the kind of person I am. I will think about it. I will remember you. I will then comment on your Instagram photos later and say, hey, I thought I saw you, but I will not actually say hi. But I encourage you to please say hi to me if you are the type of person that is more comfortable with and better at being friendly than I am. If you are still dithering on whether or not to go, always a good time if the weather cooperates. There are sheep dogs and there's lots of yarn and they sell plants, and it's busy. So parking is, there's plenty of parking, but it can be very dispersed. So we will certainly have to walk a bit. So last year, I still went to both, but I think I actually only ended up buying yarn at Yarncentrick. So for Maryland Sheep and Wool, in terms of shopping, it's pretty much the same vendors every year. And that gets a little old. So there are some great things there that aren't yarn, like I said, they have a plant sale, they've got people doing pottery, they've got jam. There's a nice place that makes jam. I can't remember the name of it. Okay, so it's called the Lion Potter. And they do a pottery, but they have lots of other stuff too. So jam and soap and things. And that's usually an outdoor space. But the yarn vendors themselves tend to be the same every year. And I ended up, I don't think, buying much last year. So I will definitely be going. I don't know how much shopping I'll be doing, but hopefully getting some fresh air. Obviously, they have tons of food there. If you like lamb, they have that, obviously. But if not, they got plenty of mostly kind of carnival food, but a few others. I think they do have, they have a crepe truck, and I want to say something like falafel they've had before. I am not taking any workshops this year. To be honest, I didn't even look. And I'm sure they're all sold out at this point. But really the fun part for me is, seeing what everyone's wearing, if it's the appropriate weather to be wearing hand knits, and just walking around and sort of being in that environment with lots of other people who also like yarn and knitting and fiber arts and things like that. So again, if you see me, please do say hi. I'll be, again, Yarncentrick, Friday morning, most likely Saturday at Maryland Sheep and Wool. And I think it'll be a good time. So that's it for events for now. But I do have some news, which is that I recently updated my website. I don't use my website a whole lot just because, it doesn't really make sense to put my patterns there, because most people are buying patterns on Ravelry, and most people are watching my videos directly on YouTube, but it is nice to have a place to sort of bring everything together. But my website had just gotten kind of unwieldy and just too much stuff all over the place. So I have updated it to be a little bit more streamlined, to be a little bit more focused, to, have spaces on the homepage to, say, here's the latest this, here's the latest that, and then, link off to other things as people might be interested in them. So things that people are going to be looking for, patterns, classes. So it just gives people a sort of central space to look for things if they are looking for them. So you can head over to maytheybetter.com if you want to take a look. In the future, I will be putting any information about test knitting. It's going to be up over there. So definitely subscribe to my newsletter if you're not already, and that link is in the description box down below. I will share on the podcast when there are test knits. I will share in my newsletter. So the podcast is only like once a month-ish, but my newsletter is pretty much whenever I feel like it. I'll be sharing when test knits are available, but all of the information about it is just going to be on my website. So just to have everything in one space and be a little bit more cohesive and be able to manage things a little bit easier. It would be nice if I could just do everything from one website, but unfortunately, the nature of knitting patterns, it just doesn't work well that way to sell my patterns there and host my videos there, and nobody's going to find them. But if you're looking for information, that's where it's all going to be, and it's updated and hopefully a little bit more easy on the eyes and easier to navigate. So maytheybetter.com if you're looking for any information about my patterns and classes and videos and anything, it's all going to be there. All right, everyone, I think that's about all I have to share with you today. Links to everything that I have talked about can be found in the description box down below. Thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed the video, I hope you will give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. New videos mostly about knitting every Saturday. If you were looking for me on social media, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Maytheybetter, and I will see you next time.